Okay, wonderful. Glad to be with all of you again. And I have to tell you, I laid down to take a nap. I just closed my eyes and there was an air raid siren. And there was no way I was going to sleep the 1 hour that I like to sleep before the Zoom. But anyway, good. Praise God. We're doing fine. Just a little weary, a little tired, because when you least expect it, those sirens go off. And the missiles that go to Tel Aviv, they fly right over our heads. And so we have to get into the air raid shelter, even though the missiles are going to pass us and go down to Tel Aviv. We have a TV in the bedroom next to the shelter, and so we're watching where the missiles hit, and sure enough, the missiles hit in Tel Aviv. And I have a theory, which has been proven correct until now, that the Iranians will not launch missiles at us because we're in the middle of the desert and everybody lives in their own private home. How many people can be hurt by one of these missiles? So they aim for the high density population areas in Tel Aviv, Ramat Gan, Givatayim, Petach Tikva, and Bat Yam, Chulon, where you have the high-rise apartment buildings. But fortunately, unfortunately for a few who died, we're talking about 2, 3 million people living in that area, and the air raid sirens go off, and everyone scampers. We're given like 5 to 7 minutes of pre-missile warning, where we're supposed to stand near the air raid shelter. But then when the siren goes off, it means the missile hit is imminent. And so people, go right into the air raid shelter and slam the door shut and lock it. Because these missiles are like half a ton of dynamite. And so we have to lock the air raid shelter door, so that the shock of the impact will not blast the door open and harm the people. And really, some people get shook up, by the missile crashing in to the area where people are. But if they're in the air raid shelter, very few people get hurt. The problem is that there is an element in the population, without mentioning who they are, but you can imagine, in addition to the little children who are scampering around and are not controlled by the parents, they're supposed to be in the shelter. And you have kids out in the street all the time. And we've had a number of instances where people who were seriously injured were 12-year-old, boys running around wild outside. And anyway, I don't want to pass judgment on anyone. The bombing in Arad a few days ago, 115 people were injured, and these people were outside when the missile hit, and the air raid sirens are going off, and people had where to go. But it seems like people were stubborn, and insisted, God will protect them. And so 115 people went to the hospital. Silly, needless. Luckily, nobody got killed in the missile shelling of Arad or Dimona in the south of Israel. But like I said before, fortunately for me and my wife, we have our own shelter in our house. And so we just kind of, whatever hour it is, we roll out of bed and into the shelter. So we're okay. We're just, getting a little tired, a little fed up. We want this war to be over. By the way, just before I connected with you guys, I read in a brief article that the IRGC, Nazi terrorists of Iran, are defecting in massive numbers. And I suppose it's really the first big sign of crumbling support for the Ayatollah regime. We are still telling the Iranian people to stay in their homes because these IRGC, they kill everybody. And listen, 32,000 wonderful young people were slaughtered by these Nazis. And they have no doubt that they are right to just kill everybody in their own people. I'll never forget the population today is about 92 million Iranians. But I remember maybe it was 20 years ago, population was 70 million. And the Ayatollah regime said, we're 70 million. Even if we lose half our population, even if 35 million Iranians die, we still will obliterate and destroy Israel. So these IRGC people are completely nuts. And the Iranian people know it. You know, Iranian people are very intelligent. They're wonderful people. They all have computers. They know what's going on in the outside world. Many Iranians have relatives in Los Angeles or New York or in Europe, and they know that there's a real life world outside. And so I don't know. All I can say is we know that Trump is trying to negotiate some kind of a deal. Personally, I don't believe there'll be a deal. I think the 3,000 U.S. Marines who are about to land in the Middle East are going to finish the show. We do know, it's not mentioned, but it's an open secret that Israel has forces on the ground in Iran. So I think between the U.S. and Israel, there will be a final day of reckoning with the IRGC. Trump, I think, is just playing poker face with the Iranians. Trump, after all, he's vacillating always between different possibilities, and in the end, he does what he said he was going to do. And so, at least until now, I'm very pleased with President Trump. Netanyahu and Trump are totally coordinated, totally synchronized. The world cannot tolerate the IRGC regime. And I'm thinking that, sorry to interrupt, another missile attack incoming to the south of Israel, Beersheba, Hebron, just south of us. But when the missile is intercepted, we hear the boom and we feel it. Our house shakes when these missiles are intercepted. So I have like one eye on the TV while I'm talking to you guys. Listen, here's where the action is. We were watching things carefully. And well, I have to reiterate again and again and again that you guys and we guys have to pray for President Trump, for Prime Minister Netanyahu, and for all the troops, all the militaries that are actively working to finish off that horrible, horrible Nazi regime. There was a rumor that Saudi Arabia was going to join in the war against Iran. I think Emirates, United Arab Emirates, UAE, that they were also going to send troops in. I imagine there's a map. I imagine that every country that participates will be taking charge of a certain area. Listen, we're in the fourth week already. We're in the fourth week, and we're after 2.5 years of war with Gaza, with Hezbollah, with the Houthis in Yemen, the Iraqi militias, which are pro-Iranian, Iran. At the end of the day, when Iran is finished and we have some kind of a free and democratic system in Iran, which I think is going to happen, it'll be the end of all these proxies. And so we're watching very carefully to see everything that's going on. I have to make a personal confession. I was saying to my wife, I think that my blood pressure is going up because I feel constantly pressure on the top of my head and pressure on my eyes. And I even said to Rachel, I said, maybe I should stop the Zooms because I get very emotional when I'm talking to you guys and watching the TV and watching all the debates that are going on. And don't forget that the Israeli troops are fighting very hard in Lebanon because Hezbollah is an extension of Iran. We have one guy on Channel 14, which is a station that all religious and nationalist Jews watch, which is what we watch, Yuval Malka. And by the way, Yuval Malka used to be a neighbor of ours here in Kedar. And this is years ago. And his son is the commander in Lebanon now of a IDF position. And he said that yesterday there was a major battle between his bastion, where he is with his troops, and a whole squad, big squad of Hezbollah. 15 Hezbollah, or rather Radwan terrorists were killed. The Israeli Air Force participated in defeating this enemy. They were trying with human wave attack to overtake the Israeli position. 15 were killed, 5 were taken prisoner. Radwan forces are like the elite of these Hezbollah terrorists. They are now being interrogated by the Israeli intelligence, which is going to give us a lot of new information. But when we were told by President Trump a year ago to stop the attack on Hezbollah, we did what Trump told us. And as a result, the south of Lebanon filled up with thousands of IRGC type Hezbollah terrorists, Radwan unit terrorists. And so we are in the south of Lebanon, but we're still only about 2 or 3 miles from the Israeli border. We have to go at least 8 miles away from the Israeli border in order for their rockets not to be fired at our northern settlements on the border of Lebanon. And we have daytime battles nonstop with the Hezbollah terrorists in South Lebanon. And you know what? It's not simple. It requires a lot of fighting and a lot of destruction of these Radwan terrorists all the way to the Litani River. And now there is talk, and we're blowing up the bridges on the Litani River, which is about 10 miles away from northern Israel. And we will probably go to the next river more to the north. Because what happens is Hezbollah will be shooting at us from the other side of the Litani River. So we have to go across the Litani, and after getting across the Litani, we have to wipe out the next group of Hezbollah terrorists because the Lebanese government refuses to disarm them or is unable or unwilling to disarm the Hezbollah. Don't forget, 60% of the Lebanese army is Hezbollah. So it's an impossible situation for us just to sit back. And even if Trump makes a deal with Iran, which I don't think is going to happen because I think Trump has his plans all made out already, we cannot allow Hezbollah to continue to exist. And so I think we're going to be going up, I don't want to say to Beirut, but we'll be going up across the Awali River and the Saluki Valley. I mean, these are difficult pieces of terrain to work in, and Hezbollah has ambushes set up everywhere. So, we are very scientifically overcoming these ambushes in southern Lebanon. And we're not going to stop until the Hezbollah is disarmed and destroyed. So we'll have to see. Don't forget, you have Christians. The bomb just hit in the south. Our house is shaking. But it's almost like 4th of July here. All these explosions. The explosion, by the way, is about 5 miles above us, but it's like 20, 30 miles over the south of Israel. So, but we feel the explosion. Iran is also using cluster bombs. And cluster bombs, if you know what they are, they release about 60 bomblets. A hand grenade has about 50 uh, ounces, not 50 ounces, about 20 ounces. I wish I could show you the map on TV. Those were where the warnings were. The bomblets have maybe half a pound of dynamite. Um, no, a hand grenade has maybe not half a pound, less than half a pound of dynamite. And the bomblets that break apart from the cluster bomb has about 4 or 5 pounds of dynamite. They're extremely dangerous. But as long as the Israeli population takes cover in the air raid shelters, it's not going to harm them. It's just going to shake people up because explosions go off. But I was in artillery for 16 years, and we were firing cluster bombs to see so that we would see the damage done by the cluster bombs. So this is something that I'm kind of rambling. I'm going from subject to subject. Anyway, so we're waiting to see. There are some people in Israel who are saying that the collapse of the Iranian regime is imminent. I would say probably a week or two. When they say imminent, they mean like today, tomorrow. Uh, when Trump says he's negotiating seriously with these people, it's because they're panicking. And I think the day will come that Trump will go down in history as the greatest leader of the United States ever, capable of destroying this totally Nazi evil administration in Iran. And his legacy will be bringing freedom and democracy to the Iranian people. So we're here, we're biding our time. Um, on a personal note, I have to say that my granddaughter, Shani in English is Scarlet. I have a granddaughter called Scarlet, and her bat mitzvah, her coming of age ceremony, was supposed to be a week ago, and we canceled it because bombs are going off, believe it or not, in the old city of Jerusalem. One bomb went off in the Jewish quarter, one bomb went off, and a fragment of the intercepting missile, I think, landed on the roof of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I think one fell right next to the Western Wall. Um, so all the girlfriends of my granddaughter, the parents said, "You're no way you're going to travel to Jerusalem for the Bas Mitzvah." So we canceled it. Well, not canceled, we postponed it. And I have another granddaughter who's getting married, God willing, on the 11th of May, which is a month and 2 weeks away. And so my youngest granddaughter is going to have her bas mitzvah on the 3rd of June. So my return to the U.S. keeps getting pushed off because all of these family occasions, I cannot miss them. I'm stuck here. And it's not easy because I still have to work to make a living. But anyway, at this point, my ETA for returning to the United States is about the 3rd of June, 4th of June. And I will probably be only 6 weeks in the States, promoting my book number 8, book number 9, traveling to whatever churches invite me. So by the way, if you guys have churches that are very interested in having me come, I'll probably be a week or so in Dallas when I first land to rest up from the jet lag and the exhaustion. I want you to know I'm very exhausted from monitoring the TV 24/7 and having the air raid sirens going off 24/7. And I even said to my wife today, I think I'm going to cancel the Zooms. I'm not going to do Zooms anymore because it tires me out too much. But anyway, coming to the rescue is the holiday of Passover. So next Tuesday and the following Tuesday, we will not have our Zooms because of Passover. So our next meeting will be in 3 weeks. and I'm going to try as best as possible to rest up. Though that's very difficult because we're watching TV. As long as we're watching TV, our blood pressure goes up because it's too much violence. Too much. It's more than a reality. I mean, it's hard to believe that we are in such a war. Um, but I will say that praise God, I'm happy to be home with my wife and family, and that we are alive and we are well, and my kids and my grandkids are fine. And we are just praying and praying and praying that God will shield our soldiers and God will shield our civilian populations and protect President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, who are working totally in sync. It's wonderful. I've never been so happy in my life to see the Prime Minister of Israel and the President of the United States working like very close brothers and friends. And so we're watching everything very closely. And I don't know what else to say. There are a lot of problems on the horizon with Turkey. Um, there's a possibility that the al-Julani terrorist leader of Syria, who is a Sunni Muslim, may invade Lebanon at the behest of Israel. The Sunni terrorist will go with his pro-Turkish forces and defeat Hezbollah, which will save us from having to go to battle with them. But then we're stuck with the Turks moving into Lebanon and taking Lebanon over, because Lebanon is kind of like a pushover. And neither the Christians nor the Druze nor the Sunnis there are showing it at this stage any sign of trying to bring under control the Hezbollah. But if the Julani and Turkish forces go in, they will be ruthless with Hezbollah, and the war with Hezbollah will be over. And hopefully, the war with Iran will be over in a few weeks. So we're watching everything very carefully. We're praying for the best. We're praying that the United States be protected from terrorism of any kind. I don't know if you heard this in the States, but two Jewish community ambulances were burned in London. Um, I see Pastor Glenn has asked me, is Aaron still in the USA? No, he came back a week ago. Aaron came back to Israel a week ago. Fortunately, there was a window, and he came home with his scheduled El Al flight. By the way, Aaron is back in the army again. They really need him. He's in an intelligence unit and he's monitoring Arabic broadcasts. I'm very proud of Aaron. He's doing a fabulous job. And whenever I say I want to be in the army also at age 77, and because I like Israeli girl soldiers who are 18 in uniform, and they say to me in the army, "Scram, Grandpa, scram." Just stop joking around with us. So I'm here. Rachel is henpecking me all the time, keeping me alive. Uh, One of the very unusual, strange things is that my sugar has gone down to 147. And you have to remember, when I'm in the States, my sugar is 300 and something because I love coconut cream pie and all the delicacies in America that we don't have here. And here in Israel, Rachel has me under very strict dietary control, as well as other controls. So my sugar came down. Okay, so all I can say, Pastor Glenn, is I pray for you only good health. And I didn't have a chance to wish you congratulations. Um, and I hope everything is just fine with your new bride. And we are fine here. I speak to Roberta Roberts every so often. So I'm kind of in the loop with my dearest friends in Oklahoma City. Aaron arranged for me now some very good churches in Kansas City, and Roberta has some churches in Oklahoma City for me. So even if I come for 6 weeks, the 6 weeks I think will be very booked up. I'll have a lot of work to do. And as you all know, I'm waiting for the end result of this war so I can cap off the top of the book. Um, Thank you for updating me, Glenn. Um, the two books, one is about the Bible Block Party, and it is written 20 years after the first edition of the book. In other words, 20 years have gone by. The party exists. We've been in 5 elections. We're getting ready for the sixth election now, hopefully in October. And my ninth book is about Turkey and the Armageddon, and it's called Lepanto too. So hopefully, the two books will be updated one last time, and I'm probably going to get them printed in Dallas, and I'm going to probably try to do this with the advice and assistance of Aaron. And hopefully, the books will be printed when I get to the States in June. So I will probably work in the States from about June the 3rd till about July 25th or 30th. But I have to get back because elections will probably be in late October. So I have August, September, October for campaigning with my party. And I think the new books will help to increase the number of people voting for us. Um, and I'll be honest with you, I'm an optimist. I'm going to be looking forward to translating my two books into Russian and Hebrew, which will get me a lot of TV and radio interviews. And I think thousands and maybe more will then join my party. And I'm still watching out for the aliyah or immigration of Jews and Christians from America moving to Israel. So we have a very, very big potential for the Bible Block Party. And I feel God is blessing me with good health so that I will be able to continue doing the work that I've been working on. And the fact is that my eighth book is the Bible Block Party second edition, which is about 50% larger than the book I wrote in 2006. And again, remember, this is 20 years later. This is a dream coming true. So I'm very, very excited. Aaron and Yaakov are with me. My grandkids are with me. My wife is with me. So, and we have our health. So I think it's fair to say things are looking up personally for us. No income here in Israel. I have to come to the States for that. But uh, we're good. We're good. I see we have about half an hour more. I'm open to questions if anyone wants to ask questions or make comments. I know Lori always kicks off with two or three questions. So, yes, dear.
Just wondering your thoughts on, that helicopter crashed with people from Turkey and Qatar on officials or whoever from Turkey and Qatar a few days ago. And just wondering if you can comment on, in general, cooperation between Turkey and Qatar, and especially in light of the US's seemingly close relationship with Qatar.
And Turkey.
The
And
US
Turkey.
is still very close to Turkey and
The United States sees Turkey as a great ally, maybe because Turkey has over 1 million soldiers in its military. And if the enemy is Shiite Iran, then Turkey, as a Sunni country, could be a good ally as part of NATO. But by the way, I did not hear about the helicopter crash with the people from Qatar and Turkey. Could you tell me more about that? How many were there?
let me see, let me pull it up really fast. It was on the 22nd, so 2 days ago. 7 people have been killed in a helicopter crash in Qatar's territorial waters, Qatar and Turkey said on Sunday. The Qatari and Turkish defense ministries said the helicopter had crashed after suffering technical malfunction during routine duty. 4 of those killed were Qatari armed forces personnel. One was from the Qatar-Turkey Joint Forces, and 2 were technicians, the Turkish and Qatari defense ministries said. Military cooperation and coordination activities between the Republic of Turkey and State of Qatar continue uninterrupted within the framework of existing agreements and plans.
My dear, this is the first time I hear about it. And I have to tell you, we are very, very much addicted to the news media.
Mm,
I think a lot depends on what channels we're watching. Don't forget, we have Fox News here. Sometimes I watch Fox News, but usually we're on the Israeli channel 14. And it's interesting that channels 11, 12, and 13, sometimes 15, are anti our channel 14. Our channel is persecuted very much by the socialists, by the deep state people. And so very often things are edited in such a way, uh, totally ignoring anything else that's going on in the world. And so, I've been watching the last 48 hours since this helicopter crash. I didn't see anything.
mm,
Um, France 24 should have it. We watch it every so often. Um Fox, I didn't hear anything on Fox, but we don't watch Fox and France 24 too much. I also look at Bloomberg because, as you probably know, gold dropped from $5,000 an ounce to 4,100 or something. Oil is beginning to drop because President Trump spoke about a pending agreement. So oil dropped to 10%. So you have to watch the economic stations as well to get a feel of where things are headed. And but I will say, to answer the meat in your question,
mhm,
the Turks are an enemy. Qatar is an enemy. They're not Shiite, they're Sunni. And everybody here in Israel says we know when we're finished with Shiite threat of Iran or of the Shiite Muslims who are led by Iran, the trouble will shift over to the Sunnis, to the Turks.
mm,
And I'll say something else also. The Egyptians. The Egyptians are itching for a war with Israel, and they're looking for excuses. So Israel is, we say in Hebrew, they're stepping on eggshells. Israel's stepping on eggshells, trying not to break them. Um, the Sunnis are going to be the next threat. And so we're watching that very carefully. The only good sign, I would say, is the Muslims who are Kurdish. You have about 50, 60 million Kurds between Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. That's going to be very interesting. The Kurds, even though they're Muslims, they're very pro-Jewish, very pro-Israeli. There is another group, Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is Turkish and Sunni, but they don't like the Iranians and they don't like Turkey. And we are allies with Azerbaijan. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. Good people in Azerbaijan. Um, my wife said to me, "Hey, let's go to Azerbaijan." I said, "I don't go to Muslim countries for the obvious reasons." But my pat answer always is, if I have any free time, I go to the United States, and that's absolutely true. I don't have time for tourism at this stage in my life, or probably ever, because every time I have to go to the States, it's usually to publish a new book and go and give lectures on it. And uh, the American people are the greatest people in the world. I don't have anything against anybody except I just love to go to America because I'm most at home in America. And American Christians are not our best friends. American Christians are our only friends. So my preference is to spend all my time outside of Israel with America and its evangelical Christians and Messianic groups. And of course, all my efforts are aimed at preparing for the next elections here in Israel in October and doing the best I can here. We've been in 5 elections. We've only gotten 400 votes continuously in every election, 400 votes, which is nothing. But those are primarily Messianic people who love me very much, know me. But we have about 10 to 15,000 Messianics in Israel. So I think it's fair to say they just don't know who I am or what my party stands for. Um, I still have a problem getting the Arabic-speaking Christians to join my party. The Russians are problematic because the Russians living in Israel, those who speak Russian, don't like to get involved in politics out of fear from the rabbinate that they may be picked on and expelled from the country by the fanatic Orthodox Jews. Um, so at this point, my emphasis is getting the two books out, reaching out to the English-speaking population, getting the books translated into Russian and Hebrew, and then trying to get somehow into the speaking mode here in Israel once the books appear in Russian and Hebrew. And you have to remember that the Israeli public uh, doesn't vote for the Bible Bloc Party because the Israeli public doesn't even understand who the Christians are, doesn't understand that we need the Christians with us, doesn't understand that Jews intermarry in America with Christians up to 80%. And so most Israelis, even good people who are nationalist or religious, they throw the baby out with the bathwater, say, we don't want any Christians. And we don't want Reform Jews and conservative Jews and unaffiliated Jews. And even certain Orthodox Jews are too liberal for us. We only want the fanatic Hasidic Jews and ultra Orthodox. So we're talking about 500,000 people out of the potential 10 million. And if you're saying to the Jews in America, you can't come to Israel because you're not ultra Orthodox, they're basically being banished to death by the rabbinate. So just don't think I'm going to have an easy time. It's going to be very hard for me to get votes. But I have no doubt that God wants this to happen. And so I plod ahead very, very patiently. I think it's called Pilgrim's Progress. And I'm a pilgrim, and I'm moving ahead according to what I believe God is commanding me and commanding us. And so I think it'll be okay in the end. Um, I don't know why I'm rambling like this, but I had 2 cups of coffee my wife made me, so I'm all hyped up now. But I mean, just remember, getting back to Lori and your question about the Turks, we are going to need 10 million immigrants. And I would say that if there are Christians moving to Israel with Jewish families, I would say let's give them where to stay in Lebanon so we can increase the Christian population in Lebanon with our kind of Christians. You know, people, I don't know if you remember Jody Anderson, sweetest lady, I miss her very much. And she said, just remember, Texas Christians are not the same as Middle Eastern Christians. And so what we need is to bring in more Texas Christians. Texas means Pastor Glenn, also Oklahoma Christians. And anyone who's married to a Jew or anyone who has a connection by law to the Jewish people can move to Israel. And we have to prevent the ultra-Orthodox rabbis from changing the law to limit Christian immigration to Israel. We have to get more Christians into the country. And one of the things I've noticed in Aaron, my son Aaron and my wife and Yaakov, my other son, they say these Christians are more Zionist than the Jews are. And so it's very important not to chop off the branch that we are resting on. And I think Israel's population will grow from 10 to 20 million people. Then we will have better chances of defeating the Turks and defeating the Egyptians, because that's the next round. That's the next war that we will be facing. Anyway, I hope I answered your question, Lori.
You did. Thank you. Very interesting to
Okay.
think about that. You think about, okay, well, once we can get past this war with Iran, then whew, we've eliminated, the axis of evil, but you've got others coming behind it. It's interesting to think about.
By the way, you lead me to another point. Yeah, you didn't ask the question, but you are leading me to another point. The Russians and the Chinese are big allies of Iran, but when Iran becomes pro-Israel and pro-America after the revolution against the Ayatollahs, and Turkey and Egypt come in, and they're Sunnis. And let me tell you, the Sunnis don't like the Russians, and I mean, they do business with the Russians, but they don't like the Russians or the Chinese. Don't forget that there's a Holocaust today in China against Muslims, Turkic Muslims. So everything is very fluid. But I think Romans 8:28, all things work for good for those who love the Lord and serve his purposes. And President Trump loves the Lord and serves his purposes, and so does Netanyahu. So I see Israel's borders expanding, not because we are fascists or occupationists. We don't want to fight. We want to live in peace, but God has a plan from the Nile to the Euphrates, and it's not something that we even wanted. And I always say my worst enemy is the Jewish mother, because if things happen the way I think they're going to happen, a lot of Jewish moms are going to be very upset with me and with God for having our children and grandchildren being sent to Syria and Lebanon and Iraq and Jordan and Saudi Arabia. So we're watching all these things. I don't know if anyone had a question in that direction, but I think I answered it. Next question.
Avi, is there any possibility of the Persians getting better organized in Iran and uh, trying to overthrow the Arab stranglehold?
Well, firstly, you have to understand something. The you take countries like Saudi Arabia, which has 20 million people. Don't forget, Iran has 90 million people. The minorities, the Sunni minorities, are pretty much under control unless that changes. We are looking at the possibility, uh, which the United States does not want, of the dismemberment of Iran and the minority areas breaking away. For example, the Azeri province in the Tabriz area, they could break away from Iran and join up with Azerbaijan because they're Azeris. The Kurds could break away and join with Kurdistan in Iraq, which is already autonomous. Um, the Arabs in the south, in the west, Ahwaz, where the oil is, they could break off. They're Shiites, but they could break off and join up with the Shiites in Iraq. Baluchistan, nobody ever heard of Baluchistan, but Baluchistan has a parallel province in Pakistan next door. And the Baluchis don't like the Pakis and they don't like the Iranians. So the whole country's a mess. And I know the United States is not interested in the dismemberment of Iran, but in a united Iran led by the Shiites. But these Shiites, hopefully, will be allies of America and allies of Israel. So the Iranian people themselves, they say, we want to be friends with Israel. Iran has a big problem, no water. And Israel has said to the Iranians, if you make peace with us, your water problems will be fixed. We will desalinate water for the Iranian people. So I don't want to say we're getting close to the Messianic era, but I think after this operation, this cancer operation succeeds in Iran, we will see very good things happening. And Israel will also be strengthened by having good relations with the Iranian people. So, we are optimistic, but it's a long battle. 47 years of the fanatic, not Taliban, fanatic Ayatollah regime has to be fixed. So we shall see. But Turkey, don't forget, the Turks and the Russians have been fighting each other for 1,000 years, and China now is having many problems because the Belt Road from China to Europe goes through Russia, goes through Turkey. Um, I don't know. We'll have to see. India is a very important country for the belt, for the alternative Belt Road from Indonesia all the way to Saudi Arabia and Israel, and then to Cyprus and Greece and Italy. So listen, Israel is right in the middle of all of this. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I don't know. I'm optimistic. I've been in Iran. I was in Iran before many people here on this Zoom were born. I was there in 1969 when I was 20 years old, and I loved Iran. Beautiful country, good people. Um, but the Democrats made a crazy mistake with Zbigniew Brzezinski and Jimmy Carter. by kicking out the Shah and bringing in Ayatollah Khomeini. So another one of the democratic mistakes. So we're watching. We're watching what's going to happen. By the way, Turkey is about 100 million people. Uh, 1/4 of Turkey is Kurdish in the southeastern province. 1/4 of Turkey is Shiite, Alawite, in the northwestern area of Syria and South Turkey. So basically, Turkey today is 50% Turkish Sunni. So it'll be very interesting to see, uh, is it possible that Turkey will be dismembered if Turkey tries to carry out an Armageddon war against Israel? So it'll be interesting. The Kurds will be with Israel. The Iranians will be with Israel. Because don't forget, the Iranians don't like the Turks because the Turks are Sunni. So it's a complicated chessboard we're playing chess on. Questions, fire away.
How many of your grandchildren are in the army?
I have to tell you, I'm very, very proud of Aaron. He said, "What do you want for your birthday?" My birthday was January 9th. I said, "You know what I really like? I have pictures of my grandfather in Poland in the Polish army fighting the Soviets. And then I have pictures here of me, Aaron and Yaakov in uniform with my father standing by us." I said, "I want a picture of my Lipkin family next generation in the military." So they made portraits. So it's Aaron and Eviatar and Sarah and Dror in uniform with their guns. So I have that on here. When you come to my house, you'll see all the pictures. I don't know if I can put the pictures up to the camera because the camera is goofy with what Aaron set up here for the Zoom. But so Eviatar now really is finished with the army, but we still have Sarah, Dror, and Moria is Yaakov's oldest daughter, getting married May 11th. She is a lieutenant. And so we have at this stage one, two, three active soldiers, and my son is the fourth in the intelligence. So our whole life is Israel and the war that's going on and getting ready for marriages that are coming up. We're very excited. Somebody sent me a heart. I didn't see the name though. Angela, you got married on May 11th, so I will make sure to send you pictures of the marriage of Moriah on May 11th. So I'm
I
waiting.
I
I'm
have
waiting. Yeah.
I have two questions.
Yes.
You said that Iran, they targets the populated areas, in Tel Aviv, and that the high rises there. And I'm wondering with the high rises, how all those people get from the top all the way down to a bomb shelter in time in a
Well,
high rise.
the high rises, I believe, the high rises have safe rooms in every family apartment.
Oh,
So if there's a direct hit, it's not going to help very much. But the chances of a direct hit, are very slim. You do have, for example, in private homes or in the older buildings in Tel Aviv, which could collapse from a direct hit. The high rises are very sturdy, but we have had missiles hitting the high rises, and
yeah,
so there's damage, no doubt about that.
yeah. Also, my second question is, what's going on with this legal thing with Netanyahu?
A very, very good question. We are on the verge of some kind of a resolution. President Trump is warning not only President Yitzhak Herzog of Israel, but he's warning the Supreme Court people in Israel with sanctions if they don't stop this stupid trial against Netanyahu. Even many judges have said that Netanyahu is not guilty. Stop the trial. It's a mistrial.
Right.
But they're looking to, no matter what, convict him. Hopefully, in their opinion, by convicting Netanyahu, he'll have to retire. See, the whole purpose of all the trouble the left is making here is to make Netanyahu retire.
Mhm.
But if he gets convicted, he still goes to the Supreme Court, which will be another 5, 10 years.
Hmm.
So I think President Trump is very upset with that. He wants this nonsense to stop.
Yeah.
And listen, President Trump is president of the United States, but he can still inflict damage on Israelis who are stupid and go against the prime minister. He wants Netanyahu not to have to deal with stupidities. And this court trial against Netanyahu is just stupidities.
Hmm. It's like the same thing they did to Trump.
Exactly the same thing. And it's also the same deep state.
Mm. Thank you.
Okay, my dear.
Avi, what are your thoughts about the launches toward Diego Garcia?
Well, if they can shoot a missile to Diego Garcia, which is 4,000 kilometers, it's the same range as London. And the Iranians said they're going to launch missiles at Europe. And I believe they're going to do it. I'm telling you, the Iranian leadership is panicking. And I think they're one step away from being finished off. Israel has many, many UAVs flying into Iran. And the Iranian people are connecting with us and telling us where the Basiji terrorists are hiding, under what bridges, what places they have the roadblocks, even inside tunnels. And the UAVs go in and bomb the heck out of them. And so this will be over when the Basiji terrorists are dead.
Mhm.
And many are defecting now.
Mm. So they haven't yet seen the Ayatollah's son. They haven't seen him yet, right?
The latest I heard is that he is being artificially resuscitated. He's
Mm.
unconscious. This is what I've heard.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Mm.
he's only there on paper.
Mm. Thank you.
Hang in there. Just be patient. We have to be patient here in Israel too.
Mm.
So how many people were displaced by the attack on Arad? That's is that the most significant damage so far?
Within 2 hours, the attack on Arad and the attack on Dimona. So the people who are in pretty much normal condition are now in hotels, the Dead Sea. Israel immediately puts everybody in hotels
In hotels, okay.
because these buildings have to be destroyed and rebuilt. Some people have family and relatives in other areas, and they go to stay with them, preferring that to going to a hotel.
But do you know how many people are displaced from the Arad and Dimona attacks?
About 120.
Okay.
It could be more, it could be less. Like I said before, the people who went straight to the hotel, they left everything behind, even toothbrushes. Like they're in the hotel and they lost everything they had, and it's not easy. So many times it's easier to go to family and go to the pharmacy and buy a toothbrush or whatever they need, and restock themselves with whatever they need. People have money in the bank, I suppose. And they can buy the things that they're lacking. I mean, they can do that in the hotel too, but a hotel is nice for 3, 4 days. I tell you, I go to a hotel, I go nuts. After 2, 3 days, I just want to go home.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Avi.
Hi, Angela.
Hi there. Um, Speaking about that attack on Dimona, was that due to the Iron Dome failure, or how did
Yes,
that one?
there was a failure, and
Right.
the Israeli army was hinting that it was not a mechanical failure. So
Yeah.
it
You
probably involved somebody who
spy.
miscalculated the anti-missile fire.
Right.
And listen, soldiers are human beings. A lot of these soldiers are kids, 19,
Mm,
20, or 21. And you're in the middle of a desert area where you never had a missile before, and all of a
yeah.
sudden one of these killer missiles slam into Dimona or
Yeah.
Arad, and the young kids maybe they make a
Yeah.
mistake, and then
Yeah.
listen. I'm changing the subject. You have in New York City, you have an airport called LaGuardia. I've
Mm,
flown in and out of LaGuardia many times. It's a very cramped, difficult airport. And the air supervisor up in the tower, who was responsible for the plane slamming into a fire truck,
mm,
he said I messed up.
yeah.
Human beings make mistakes, and it's a
Yeah.
sad thing, but it's a
Yeah.
fact. So, you know.
Those kids are doing an amazing job. But I just wondered if there was anything being reported about the possibility that there was somebody spying for Iran involved in. Was somebody arrested?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think very simply, the army is made up of young kids and smart kids that they go through a course, and I think the percentage of successful interceptions is 92%.
Yeah.
So in the 92%, if they fired at least 100 missiles, so we're talking about 8 getting through and killing people.
Right. And Dimona is always targeted, isn't it?
Also,
Yeah.
Dimona also.
Mm, yeah.
And the buildings were older buildings.
Hmm.
And even so, if the people were in the shelter, the air raid shelter, they wouldn't have been hurt.
Right. Okay, that must be misinformation. I just read something that was saying somebody had been arrested, but for
Oh,
passing.
we are arresting spies all the time.
Mm,
There was one spy who said that he was Israeli intelligence. Turns out he was just impersonating an intelligence officer, and they paid him, I think it was $30,000. The
yeah.
Iranians paid him. They pay in Bitcoin. So
Mm,
the money cannot be tracked, but the Israeli intelligence arrested the guy.
mm. It's so interesting that you were saying about the Diego Garcia range. I mean, just I think it was yesterday or the day before, a minister here came out and actually make a public statement that there was no way that they had that capability and that no, it couldn't reach London. I mean, everybody that's following everything were just aghast that they would even come out and say such a thing. It's obviously blatantly not true.
I have to tell you something. I wrote my first book in 1997, which was 4 years before the attack on New York City on 9/11. And I got my information from Rachel. My wife, Rachel, was telling me she was watching TV in Arabic of these Arab countries where they were talking about destroying the World Trade Center with airplane crashes. So I put it in my book, and everybody attacked me. What did I hear this week? That President Trump wrote a book 30 years ago, which I believe, which is about the same time that Rachel had that same information, that he predicted 9/11.
Wow.
And everybody attacked Trump, that he was a Islamophobe and he was crazy and blah, blah,
Mm,
blah. So I love President Trump because I'm crazy like he is.
certain-
So you've got leaders like Starmer who they don't believe anything.
It's difficult. I mean that the you were talking about the ambulances. It was actually 4 ambulances. The Jewish community had solar, which is not just for the Jewish community. They're for the use of everybody.
Yes.
Um, But yeah, their compound was next to the synagogue. And there was footage there of three individuals in under the cover of darkness running towards the next thing. They were all up in flames. That was it's in Golders Green in London. Where
Here in Israel, we only know about two ambulances.
yeah, it was four, I think. But yeah, the whole community. I mean, it's known to be a Jewish area. Um, very, very upset, very upset. And they just do not feel safe. They're saying we don't feel safe anymore. One lady, Jewish lady, was saying, you know, for years, my family have lived here generation. I've always said I'm proud to be a British Jew, but not anymore. And Rabbi Meravis, the chief rabbi, had said it's saddening we've reached this situation, and the tone of the media and what's been coming from our government as a contributing factor. I mean, these things need to be said, but it has caused a lot of backlash. That not it's nothing is being done to protect them, to protect while other communities seem to have more protection. It's a sad state of affairs, and I think people are absolutely fed up to the back teeth of this government that we've currently got in place. So we've got elections, some local elections come up in May. So I don't know, we'll see if they lose a lot of seats there. But they've got to go. They really have. They're endangering our country big time.
Listen, I have to tell you, as a student of history, Winston Churchill in the 1930s was so adamant against the Nazis and so adamant against Hitler. And you had very, very important people in England, like Lord Halifax and Chamberlain. And there were a whole lot of English aristocrats who were pro-Nazi, they were pro-German. And they said that Winston Churchill should be put up against the wall and shot
Yeah, yeah.
for ruining the fraternal relations between the English and German brothers and sisters. And then afterwards, when the war broke out, everyone said, well, Churchill was right. But for years, Churchill was attacked and attacked and
They
attacked.
just don't see the writing on the wall, Avi. That Neville
Well,
Chamberlain came back with his Peace in Our Time. Absolutely, he was just
uh,
completely hoodwinked. But
by
there's
the way, also another thing I wanted to tell you, I read a very interesting article, which I get all kinds of articles from all kinds of sources. And one of them said that the entire British Navy today is in dry dock. All the ships are being fixed. I mean, they're in
yeah,
a horrible situation. And so, for example, the French have offered to send the Charles de Gaulle, which is their nuclear powered
yes,
aircraft carrier,
yeah.
to stand with the Americans there in the Straits of Hormuz. And the British are not capable because all the ships are being repaired.
Sadly, that is true. I think they are being repaired. Although the one uh has submarine, I think, is now in the area. But yeah, they were in dry dock. Yeah, yeah,
You know, I have to tell you, I'm older than you think. And when I was a young kid in the 1950s and 60s, I was all about the Brits and the Americans, allies in World War One and allies in World War
yeah.
Two, and the
Mm,
common language and the common history and the common culture and everything. And I look at England today, it breaks my heart.
mm.
I'm not even talking about Israel. I'm talking about as an American-born Jew who loved England and you know when I went to England a few times to speak, including to your home in Jersey, Jersey, and I'm telling you, I could feel like I was Robin Hood riding through the glen with his band of men. You know, like I grew up in England. I mean, that's how I felt by being born and raised in New York. I felt like I was a Brit, and there was always that feeling in the 1950s and 60s, the
Yeah,
alliance between England and the United States.
Yeah.
And so it's really heartbreaking to me.
Yeah. You know, I don't. I think that in the hearts of British people, that alliance is there. It does not depend on Keir Starmer, um, who will be gone soon, I think.
Yeah.
But we also got this other horrible party, the Greens. They're even worse. Um, but this government does not represent or reflect the sentiment of the British people. I can assure you of that.
Yeah. Remember what General Patton said in World War II? He said, the British and the Americans are our brethren who are divided by the same common language.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just a sign of the times where we're heading. Yes,
I'm hoping for a great revival in
yeah,
Europe,
yeah,
a great Christian revival, which will deal with the Islamic terrorism, the Islamic invasion of Europe, and be beneficial to the Jewish citizens and, of
mm,
course, to Israel, because we are all united by the same democracy.
mm. Well, there's a massive surge on the sale of Bibles in Britain, so and the churches are filling up. So, yeah,
God willing.
God willing, exactly. Oh
Avi,
well.
Avi, back a minute to the damage in Israel. So the damage at the old city, I don't know, is it a road or a parking lot? How long do you think that will take to repair?
That's a very good question, a very interesting question. Why? Uh, uh, we were told by archaeological experts that any big missile, like what the Iranians are firing, hits the old city, there are many areas under the surface that are excavated, and you have a lot of empty areas, and that great parts of the old city can just collapse into these empty areas. Repairing is theoretically, the road itself might not be such a big deal, but if that missile had hit, say, 100 yards more into the heart of the old city, uh, great parts could just collapse. Don't forget, it's very close to the Cardo. The Cardo is an area that was excavated.
Mm.
So, there are areas there that the whole area could just collapse. I have to tell you, when we drive from my house here in Kedar to Ofra, where Aaron lives, they just discovered an extensive area of caverns with stalactites and stalagmites, and they're expanding the highway to a four-lane highway, and it goes over these stalactites and stalagmites, and there's a fear that if heavy trucks are on that road, the whole highway could just collapse into the caverns.
Mm.
So in Israel, you have to be very careful how you build and how you pave roads, and the old city, of course. I still believe a lot of things are covered up and by ground, and they will be uncovered one day. We'll discover new things.
Maybe a piece of shrapnel will blast through the eastern gate and open it up.
You never know. You never know. We must never forget the great earthquake. We had an earthquake in 1827. We had or 1837, and then a great earthquake in Israel in 1927. And theoretically, we were due for a massive earthquake in 2017. So now we're 2026. So we are now, I would say, overdue for, God forbid, for a major earthquake in Israel.
Mm.
So that's something 1837, 1927, every 90 years. It's like Halley's Comet. We have a major earthquake.
Mm. Well, we've gone a little bit over. So is that a wrap?
I love you guys very much.
So
I'm
just
gonna,
want to remind everybody what you said because a few people joined late. No Zoom the next 2 weeks for Passover, correct?
exactly, for the first day and the last day.
And so that puts us at where? And
Claire is
then,
asking, have our clocks changed? And I think they changed this weekend.
yeah, so when we come back after this 2 week break, then we'll be back on the regular time for
For Is
everybody.
yeah, for Israel, but it's still the same time for you guys
For the
always.
United States, it's the same, but for people in Europe, it's also, get
Right.
back to the regular time. So I think that puts us at
Hmm.
April 14th, right? Is our next Zoom?
Yes, by the way, April 14th is Rachel's birthday.
Oh,
Hmm.
good.
Woo,
So
woo.
will she come on the Zoom to say hi for us
No.
for us to wish her happy birthday?
She's very personal. You know what? I'll try to trick her into appearing here, and then she tricked me, and then she'll run away. But
And we can sing happy birthday to her.
I will tell her that, and then she'll really let me have it.
Okay, just make sure she doesn't watch this video on YouTube.
Yeah. By the way, I told her, listen, if you're embarrassed by being seen on camera, um, if you're embarrassed by, you can watch me on YouTube's because then nobody's watching you.
There you go.
We have a lot of new people coming onto the YouTubes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, listen, I love you guys. I appreciate all of you very much, especially Lori, for being the hostess with the mostest, and your mom. And I'm sorry my trip to the States keeps getting postponed, but of course it's beyond my control.
Yes.
Love you too. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I love you too from Malta.
Oh, yeah. Sending love to you and Rachel. Have a happy Passover.
Thank
You're in
you.
our prayers. God bless everyone.
Bless.
Ach,
Amen.
Sameach.
Shalom, shalom.
Amen.
Shalom,
Shalom,
shalom.
Laurie.